I'm Hadriatus, Armchair General, and today I'm going to be broadening my horizons and tackling the complexities of naval warfare in space. This is Firestorm Armada, a relatively new game published by Spartan Games, who you may know from their previous naval game, Uncharted Seas, and their new game, Dystopian Wars. Now, space combat is a bit of a rarity for tabletop games, mostly due to the difficulties of conveying 3 dimensions in a format that only really uses 2. Then again, I don't think I've seen the concept of 3D space combat conveyed accurately in any form of media. Let's take a look at some well-known TV shows and movies for examples. Alright, the fighters are flying all over the place, but look at the capital ships. They're always orientated to share the same directions of up and down. It's like there's a universal point you must always have your underside face. In a real battle in 3 dimensions, you'd hardly have ships orientated the same way. Stuff would be upside down, for one thing. Okay, now, I know that NASA has stated that if there was an actual space fleet, then all the ships there would orient themselves along with the flagship, the biggest ship present. Okay, fair enough, makes sense. Doesn't explain why an enemy fleet would be orientated in the same way. And let's not forget, you'd hardly have broadsides at that range. If modern air combat is done in a manner that you never see your opponent, what do you think space combat would be like? You'd be shooting at distances that were about the diameter of the Earth, at least. Anyway, now I've gotten that out of my system, I can honestly say the range issue doesn't really come up in this game. You have your ships blasting at each other across the length of the entire table, and the only time they ever get close to each other really is when they're either ramming each other or trying to board each other. Yeah, like that. Okay, enough of the clip show for now. Let's dive into Firestorm Armada. So, humanity has, taken to the stars and set out to colonize the cosmos. They expand rapidly outwards because the more resource-rich planets are closer to the, edge of the galaxy than the core, where, Earth is near there, so. During this period of expansion, they encounter 2 alien species, the Aquans and the Ceruleans. Alright, that isn't what they look like, but the lack of description means they might as well. There's a couple of skirmishes between these 3 species, but nothing major, until the colonists on the furthest planets from, the humanity's homeworld Earth, choose to declare themselves fully independent. This happens a lot in sci-fi, but let it go. It's a nice little explanation for, why there are 2 human factions fighting each other, and it sort of makes sense. Now, these colonists decide to fight for their independence because the Earth government doesn't want them being free and ruling themselves and being a potential rival power base. So 3 brief civil wars follow before the colonists finally manage to break away and form the Dindrenzi Federation. Years pass and the Dindrenzi form a pact with another human empire known as the Directorate. Now the Directorate isn't really a government, it's more of a mega corporation that is like interstellar power. And their cruises are pretty much inspired mostly by Star Trek shows. The Dindrenzi also ally themselves with an alien species known as the Relthosa, who are giant arachnids, at least it seems to hint that in the book, who are most well known for utilizing cloaking technology. Now, the Terrans see this build-up of force and ally themselves with the Aquans and the Ceruleans. Before the Dindrenzi launch a massive attack aiming to conquer Earth itself.
Everybody got that?
Now, I don't know why, but every time I read about the Dindrenzi, I always think of this.
My people, sons and daughters of Helgan, for many years we have been a broken nation, shunned, oppressed, and conquered by those we sought to escape.
Yeah, I know it's not intentional, and the idea of a slightly fascist government uniting the people to fight against past oppressors is almost a cliché now, or a trope, but yeah, screw it. Alright then, let's start off with the obvious. Sequence of play. Unlike in most games, in Firestorm Armada, both players alternate moving and shooting each of their ships or squadrons until all of their fleets have activated, at which point a new turn begins. How do you decide who goes first? You roll a single d6, each player rolls a single d6, and add any bonuses that their fleet gives them to their initiative roll, as this roll is an initiative roll to see who goes first. Whoever rolls highest gets to activate first. Now, movement is done in inches, as always. Larger ships are slower than smaller ships and less maneuverable, again, as always. The distance they can move is shown on their stat line in the MV column or movement. Cruisers and battleships have a minimum distance they have to travel before being able to turn, but there is no limit on the amount of turns they can make as long as they have enough movement to travel the minimum distance between each turn. Now, combat revolves mostly around trying to get into the best firing position to take advantage of your fleet's speciality. The Dindrenzi, for example, favour foreweaponry that's really powerful at longer ranges, whilst the Directorate, well, they favour pretty much diving head first into the enemy formations and firing all round. The armaments of the ships are split between their fire arcs, so, fore, aft, port, and starboard. So, front, back, left, and right. The way guns work is that they've got varying effectiveness depending on the range between the firing ship and the target. So, when you're shooting at something, you measure the distance between the target ship and the firing ship. You find out which arc is firing, and then you look up the range, because all the ranges are done in range bands of about 6 inches each, so 6, 12, 18, 24. And you look it up on a column, and that tells you how many dice you have to roll for your attack. Ships hit on a roll of 4 or more, unless the target is smaller, in which case it's a 5 or more. A roll of 6 counts as 2 hits and gives you a reroll, and there is no limit on the amount of times this may happen. You may roll, say, a 3, 2, 3, 5, and 6, giving you a total of 3 hits and a reroll. And on the roll, throw another 6, which gives you another 2 hits and another reroll, and this can go on and on. This is a rather neat little mechanic, as it involves rolling big handfuls of dice, and let's face it, that is always fun. And there is no need to worry about modifying the results. 4s and 5s hits, 6s are 2 hits and a reroll. That's all there is to it. Now, the amount of hits is added and compared to the stats on the datasheet. The stats you have to worry about when you're being shot at are DR and CR, which are your damage rating and your critical rating. If the amount of hits caused exceeds the DR, then you suffer 1 hull damage, and the HP of your ship drops by 1. If it exceeds your CR, well, then you have to roll in the critical table, and things can go really, really badly wrong. As you can see, the damage that can happen is either you lose 2 HP rather than 1, or your ship instantly explodes, killing all of those aboard.